Hey everyone, welcome back to Oops to Awesome. We will be finishing our birch trees today. So this is lesson 3. So don't forget to watch lesson 1 and 2 before you watch this one. Let's go. Here we go. So Sac Green is made by cadmium yellow and ultramarine blue. And we're going to add a little bit of white to that. Now, the thing about foliage is, you know, it varies in color. It's not like all one color. So I'm going to make myself a little second pile. I'm not going to clean my brush. My second pile will be ultramarine. But instead of cadmium yellow, it will be yellow ochre.
What size of brush?
I'm using a number 5 or 6. The numbers have worn off on a filbert. So you can see how the two greens look a little bit different. But again, don't worry too much as long as you have slightly different greens that are not too saturated, so a bit of white with them. And we're going to just keep, every time we go back to our palette, we're just going to keep alternating between which one we take from. Does everybody have their colors mixed? So sap green and white, which you can make with ultramarine and cadmium yellow. Start with that one. Maybe give me a little thumbs up when you're ready. Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to start in the background. And I want to imagine that there's foliage behind these trees. So I don't want to lose some of the blue sky, and I certainly don't want to lose the tree lines that I put in. So I'm just going to kind of dab, leaving space.
Is this on? This is on the birch.
This is behind the birch.
Behind.
So
okay.
imagine it's this tree.
Okay.
So it's coming from this tree. So if you run out of paint, just that's kind of a good thing because it means we'll get some color variation. So just remix it. And if it's a slightly different color, that's a good thing.
Julie, what would be the disadvantage of putting the foliage on the midground trees before you've even painted in the foreground trees?
The disadvantage?
So like, I mean, so you don't have to sort of paint around them if you.
Yeah, I just, I mean, I am going to go over, see this tree, I'm going to kind of go over a little bit as well. I always paint background to foreground. If I'm painting this style, if I'm doing the, you know, the paintings we did on the red background where we put in our focal points first, then I paint in a different way. But something like this, that's more semi-realism, then I always do background to foreground. But I did put in the all the trees first, just so I knew where all my lines were. I mean, the thing is we are going to put foliage in front. So it doesn't really matter if we slightly go over these birch trees because there's going to be foliage on top that's going to hide it. So if I wasn't going to put anything in front, I'd probably do it first. I just tend to have a bit of an order of when I do.
That will. I was just thinking of order too, but if there's going to be foliage on the birch, then it doesn't matter so much. But
yeah, we're gonna put foliage in front anyway, so So that's my first tree foliage. I've left some blue sky showing through. I've slightly overlapped in some places.
So are you just using the tip of your brush?
Yeah, I'm just kind of dabbing.
Mm. Yeah, I like dabbing.
Yeah, dabbing's good. Okay, so let's work on some more of the background trees. So I'm gonna get a bit more of my yellow ultramarine. I'm remixing my kind of sap green. Doesn't have to be the same, or in fact, you know, it's good if it's slightly different. And I am going to keep kind of alternating between the yellow ochre and ultramarine and this one. So, because I want my foliage to be slightly different. So I'm going to go way over to the other side to this kind of tree that we created here. Now, this is where my light source is, so I don't really want to put as much foliage here. So again, I'm just going to dab. I'm going to take it over here. Again, if you accidentally go over the tree in front, don't worry about it. And when I kind of create little clusters of leaves, just kind of imagine them growing in little groups. So don't worry about detail. We're just dabbing. I'm going to take some of that more yellow ochre based green and I'm going to concentrate on some of my trees behind. So I'm just working on all the behind trees for now. Don't forget to leave lots of space and sky showing through. How are we doing?
Good.
Good. So mix it up a bit, you know, each time you go back to your palette, add to your mix, you know, add a bit more yellow or a bit more blue, and we're going to have lots of different color variations here. I'm going to add a little bit while I'm at it, while it's on my brush, just add a little bit this lighter green down below. And when you're ready, we'll start putting some on the foreground trees. So just make this richer, as in less white. So I'm just mixing, I'm making my sap green with my cadmium yellow and my ultramarine blue. And this time I'm not really adding any white. And I'm gonna just put a few leaves on my foreground tree. So I'm gonna maybe bring some across the top here. And by using a pure green that's not tinted, then it will send those trees we've just worked on backwards.
Could you say that again about backwards, Julie?
Yeah, so because the greens we've used up to now have had a little bit of white in them, now we're using a saturated green without any white, so no tint. By putting this more pure green in the foreground, it will create a middle ground, so it will send these back. So these won't look as dominant because they're not as saturated in color. Does that make sense?
Thank you, that's good.
No worries. We had our first frost last night. Did anybody else get a frost? Maybe it's because we're a little bit higher up. My chicken's water was frozen this morning for the first time.
Oh,
I have a heater. I just haven't put it in yet. We're kind of pecking at this frozen water.
knock their little brains out with.
I know, yeah. Well, it was like a little reward, you know, if they pecked hard enough, they broke through the ice and got them. Kept them amused at this morning, I think. My friend, we have neighbors up the road that started with chickens about the same time as us, a little bit earlier. And they've gone full on, full farm. So since they got the chickens, they've now got sheep, pigs, and they did have 9 chickens, and now they've just ordered 40. They're going farming in a big way. That's a lot of animals to look after with two full-time jobs. We would do that if we had a little bit more space, I think. So can you see how these darker greens are kind of, you know, giving this picture some layers?
Like magic.
Yeah. Next time you're in a forest, you know, you'll probably notice all the layers. I posted I don't know whether anybody else Instagram, but I posted a video late last week of my walk, and I just described how I would paint it verbally while I was videoing the trees. So if you do have Instagram, if not, I'll put it on YouTube. So I kind of just described how I look at a forest and how I try and turn that into a painting. Thought it might be useful for people to understand my process.
That'd be great if you could put it on you.
Yeah, I'll put it on YouTube. Yeah.
I'm not sure how low to go with the leaves on the birch.
Don't go too low because we can't see the top of the trees.
True.
You know, imagine that, you know, we're sat on a dock looking up, so we can't see the tops of the trees. So I wouldn't go too low.
All right.
I want to create like a canopy of foliage above our heads. And then the interesting thing about birch trees, you know, the leaves catch the light and they have that kind of twinkling, you know, those kind of whites. So I may put a few sort of bright whites in my leaves as well. You know what I mean? Just a few kind of little highlights when they sort of, those birch leaves sort of catch the light. You know, when they rustle, they kind of twinkle. Has anybody ever noticed that with the kind of like little twinkling trees? I'm just putting a few.
Silver birch.
Silver
Yeah.
birch.